So you've spent this week learning about a woman who was extraordinary, yet invisible. Today, we're going to make sure that's not your story. Welcome back to Unshakable Her, helping ambitious women who are constantly second-guessing themselves to build the daily habits that compound into unshakable confidence. I'm Caroline Esterson, and I'm in your corner. Today, it's Friday. We've heard the story in Monday's episode, and we've understood the science of what's holding us back from Wednesday. Now we're closing the week with a song that holds everything we've covered, so you can carry the week's confidence tips with you when the podcast ends. Plus, 3 quick-fire career moves, small enough to use before Monday morning and sharp enough to make a 2mm difference to edge you towards that promotion. Because Unshakable isn't built in a moment, it's built in the moves you make between Mondays. Let's go. Here's what you're leaving with today. 1, your song moment. And I promise you it's going to feel exactly right. It's a little bit cheesy, but who cares, right? 2, 3 moves you can start this week. 3 intentional specific shifts that will begin to change what the right people see when they look at you. And 3, you're going to finish this trilogy feeling something. I don't know what exactly. That depends on where you are. But something is going to shift because this week has been about you. And you deserve a week that's about you. So, Friday, we are here. And if you've been with me since Monday, I want to say something to you before we do anything else. You chose this week. This week, in the middle of whatever else was going on, whatever the diary looked like, whatever was waiting for you in your inbox, you chose to think about yourself and about your value and about that gap between who you are and who other people currently understand you to be. And that choice is the beginning of everything. So a quick recap. Monday, we met Diane, 37 years old, 14 years of being extraordinary and twice passed over. And we watched what happened when she finally turned her own attention on herself. When she asked the question nobody had ever asked her before and found an answer that changed her career. Wednesday, we went into the science. We talked about why brilliant women systematically underestimate their own strategic contribution. Not as a weakness, but as a documented, researched, completely explainable phenomenon. We met Ellen Langer and her conditional thinking and understood why these categories we accept for ourselves shape what we see and what we miss. And we talked about Csikszentmihalyi and flow and what happens when you've been comfortable for so long that you've stopped being fully alive in your work. So today, as usual, we bring it all home because insight without action, and we said this last week, and I'm going to keep saying it until it sticks, is just a very interesting way to stay exactly where you are. We've got your song reveal, we've got what will Caro do, and we've got 3 quick-fire career moves that are specific, doable, and they're going to shift something. Oh, I can feel it. Right, the clues, let's bring them all together. Monday, I gave you an animal. Quiet for very long, sitting with everything it knows, everything it's been through, everything it's built, and then opening its mouth. And when it does, nobody in the room is left in any doubt about what they are in the presence of. Wednesday, I told you it's an animal that is not quiet at all once it finds its voice, and that finding that voice is not about aggression. It's not about suddenly becoming someone different, and it is about the moment you stop diminishing what you are and start owning it completely, unapologetically, and without waiting for permission. And here is your 3rd clue. She was told she was going to be okay. She decided she was going to be more than okay, and she decided she was going to be heard. They're a little bit obtuse, these clues this week, because the song is so obvious. Okay, this week's song is Roar by Katy Perry because Diane roared. Not loudly, because Diane isn't loud, but clearly, deliberately, with the full weight of 14 years of evidence behind her. And when she finally let people hear what she was capable of, boy, did they listen. That's what this week has been all about. Roaring in your own voice at exactly the right volume for the room that you're in. What would Caro do?
Sometimes you don't need permission, you just need better advice.
Right, what would Caro do in this week's message? And I'm going to read this carefully because I want to get it right. It comes from a listener who signed off simply as tired but not done. She writes, I've been in my organisation for 12 years and I know it inside out. I've trained people who are now my managers. I've solved problems that nobody even knew were problems until I fixed them. Last week, someone 15 years my junior, someone I mentored, was announced as the new head of department. I sat in that meeting and smiled and said congratulations. And then I went to the bathroom and cried. I'm not even sure what I'm asking. I just need someone to know. Ever felt like that? I've seen it a lot of times. And I hear you. I really do. The fact that you smiled and said congratulations and then went and felt your feelings privately, that's grace. And grace is underrated. But I also want to say this. You are not done yet. You said it yourself and I believe you. Here's what I'd do. I'd stop waiting for the organisation to notice what I know it's missed and I'd start making an inventory. Just for me, it's private, of every problem I've solved, every person I've developed, every pattern I've seen before anyone else saw it, every piece of evidence of what I actually am. And then I would find one person, a senior person who I trust, and I'd have an honest conversation with them. I'd say, I've been here 12 years. I want to know what my path looks like. I'd like your perspective on what I need to do to get there. Not because the organisation deserves that grace after what just happened, but because you deserve the answer and you'll not get it if you don't ask. And we've talked about make the list, ask the question so many times on this podcast. You're probably sick of hearing about it, but I'm going to ask you, have you done that list yet? Have you asked the question? Because I know it's not easy, but I also know that if you do these things, this is the start of your new beginning. It's the start of making you unshakable. So go on, do it. So going back to the what would Caro do? You said that you mentored someone who's now your manager. That means you're the kind of person who makes other people better. The organisation needs that at a senior level. Make sure they know it. That's leadership. Remember, you're not tired and done. You're tired and ready. And there's a difference. It's a big difference. And that difference is everything.
3 little moves to make you unshakable. Small enough to start Monday, sharp enough to change everything.
Okay, 3 little moves. Let's go. Move 1. Ooh, find your gorilla. You remember the gorilla? The thing that had been walking through the room the whole time that nobody noticed, including yourself? This week, I want you to find yours. Not a list or a big audit, just one moment, one specific moment from the last month where you did something that was bigger than your job and nobody, including you, called it what it was. Just one. Write it down in a sentence. Give it a proper name. Now, I'm not talking sorted out the issue with a client. That's too general. So is help the team get back on track. Think about the real name, the strategic name, the name a director would use if they were describing what you did to someone who mattered. So let's translate these examples so you can hear the shift. Sorted out the issue with a client becomes retained an at-risk client relationship worth X, put the monetary figure there, by identifying the breakdown before it escalated. Do you see the difference there? Or rather, do you hear the difference there? And help the team get back on track becomes stabilised team performance during a leadership gap and prevented a missed deadline. That's specific, tangible, and understandable. Because here's the thing about gorillas. Once you see them, you can't unsee it. And once you name one moment of strategic contribution accurately, without hedging, without minimising, your brain starts finding others. You don't need the list finds you. One moment, one sentence, that's your first 2 millimetre difference. Move 2, close one gap this week. By now, you've been sitting with Diane's question since Monday. The question is, if someone who had never met me before watched how I spent the next 4 weeks, what would they say I was capable of? And if you answered it honestly, there's a good chance you found a gap between what you're actually capable of and what you are currently letting people see. So this week, I don't want you to find the gap. I want you to close one, just one specifically. Pick one place. Maybe it's a meeting, an update, a conversation. Could be a LinkedIn post even, where you've been describing your contribution in small language. The helped with, the supported on, was involved in language. And this week, you're going to say the real thing instead in a place or with a person where it matters. Because the gap doesn't close by itself. It closes one sentence at a time. And this is your first one. 2 millimeters, one question, changes everything. And move 3. Have one conversation you've been avoiding. Not a confrontation or demand, just a conversation with somebody who matters. Maybe it's a senior stakeholder, a mentor, a sponsor, where you can say something honest about where you want to go and what you need to get there. Not because you're owed it, not because the organization's been perfect, but because you can't get to where you're going without someone in the room who knows you're heading there. And right now, that person might not know because you haven't told them. Tired but not done didn't want me to tell her she was good enough. She needed permission to have the conversation. So here it is, your permission granted. Remember, the conversation you're avoiding is almost always the one your imposter syndrome is most afraid of, because avoiding it keeps you safe and small. Having it, even if you have got that shaky voice, is the act of someone who believes, even just a little bit, that they deserve to be in the room. And every time you do it, the voice shakes less and that belief gets a little stronger. That's not fluffy, that's neuroscience. The brain learns from what you do, not from what you plan to do. And remember, influence is built on relationships. Relationships are built on honest conversations. And remember, influence is built on relationships, and relationships are built on honest conversations. The person who's willing to be real, to say, I want this, here is why, here's what I think I bring, is the person others remember. And people promote people they understand. If the people who matter don't know what you want, they'll not think to offer it. It's that simple and also that devastating. One honest conversation with a person who matters can shift an entire trajectory, not because it guarantees anything, because it opens the door that was previously closed, not by them, but by your own silence. One conversation this week, you know who it needs to be with. Right, let's close this trilogy properly because you deserve a proper close to the week. I promised you your song moment, raw. The moment Diane stopped being quiet about what she was worth. The moment, tired but not done, decides she's not done. The moment you listen to this and think, yeah, that's me. That's what I'm doing now. I promised you 3 moves: find your gorilla, close the gap, and have a conversation you've been avoiding. Now, I know these aren't easy, but nothing that matters ever is. And these 3 moves done consistently over the coming weeks, well, they compound. They start to tell a different story about who you are and what you're capable of. And I promise you'd feel something at the end of this trilogy. So let me ask you, do you? Remember, you have evidence with capability, with strategic value, and that is real and specific, and it's yours. And your job, your actual job from this week forward, is to make sure the right people know it. Not with noise for the sake of it, but rather with the confident, completely grounded authority of someone who has finally stopped waiting for permission to be seen. That is you, finally, fully in the room. Now, next week, we've been talking about noticing the patterns around you, the value within you. But there is one more dimension of this that we haven't touched yet, and it is arguably the most powerful one: the people around you. Next week, we're going to talk about influence, real influence, the kind that comes from understanding what matters to the people around you and connecting what you do to what they need, the kind that makes you not just visible, but invaluable. Monday, we meet someone who thought influence meant being liked and discovered it meant something completely different. It's going to be a good one. See you Monday.
So that's it from me this week. Before you go, if something this week made you nod, laugh, or think, finally someone said it, leave a rating wherever you're listening. Just a couple of taps, that's all it takes. And it helps other women just like you who are spiraling and searching for help to find this show. I'm Caroline Esterson. You came here for career advice, but what you're really building, week by week, move by move, is someone no one can shake. See you Monday.